Hello guys, very good morning. Welcome back and let's start. And today is the second demo. So tomorrow will be the last demo for you. So whoever are interested, please register for the course. And yeah, so let's get into the concept of what is Docker and Kubernetes. In the last session, we discussed about the concept related to basics of Docker. So what is meant by Docker and how we can work with the Docker. So these are the things that we have seen in the last session. Okay. So on premises, we discussed about on-prem versus what I can say on-premises server, especially if I had to talk on-premises server versus container. Okay, what is in the container and how we can work with the container. Okay, so those are the topics that we have discussed in the last session. In this session, we are going to discuss about the concept related to what exactly is container, what is container, and how to install Docker in Ubuntu mission, especially in the Ubuntu mission, how we can install the Docker and how we can run the Docker. And the next one is next we are going to discuss about what is a container and how container has came into the picture. Containers has came into the picture. What are the different containerization platforms that we are having? And we will talk about a few Docker concepts, a few Docker commands. So if possible, I will try to explain you about the Docker architecture. Okay, so this is the entire topic that we are going to cover in this session. Okay, so just wait for a couple of minutes. If anybody are joining, we'll continue with that. But this is the agenda which we are going to work today. Okay, so just give me a couple of minutes. Uh, the session will start at 8:30, guys. So please try to attend by 8:30. So most probably I will try to take the session between 8:30 to 8:35. But you please join by 8:30. Okay. So now let's discuss about how to install the Docker in Ubuntu environment. So for that, what I will do here is I will log on to my AWS account. In the AWS account, I will create an EC2 instance. Okay. So now let us create an EC2 instance. I am not going to talk about the entire AWS, but basic how we can create an EC2 instance, I will show you that. Now this is my EC2. So if you see, go to the EC2 console, launch instances. Okay. So then what you can do here is you can go for the Docker server. It is taking too much of time. Give me a second. Okay. So select Ubuntu operating system. It's not a mandatory thing that you have to deploy in the Ubuntu, but I am going with the Ubuntu operating system, P3 micro, and here you can select a key pair. Okay. Create a new key pair. So if you want to create a new key pair, you can create it, or else how you can create, for example, docker underscore key. This is the name of the key pair. So in general, whenever we are working with the key authentication in EC2, so we have an EC2 server. If I want to get the authentication, if I want to log in into this EC2 instance through key authentication, there will be two keys that are going to be generated. One is called as public key and the other one is called as private key. Okay, public key and private key. Public key will always be with the server. So the public key will be always with the server and the private key is always with the client. So those who are using that, those who want to log in into that server. So with the client, the private key will be there. So this private key will be with the client. So with the help of the private key, what is going to happen? He can be able to authenticate the server. So he will be able to authenticate the server. So now, whenever I create the key pair, I am going to select the OpenSSH key type, that is PEM file. Of course, even I am using PuTTY, but still what I will do here is I will use the PEM file. So create key pair. So when I create the key pair, you can see here the PEM file has downloaded into my laptop, which means that I am able to, this is means the PEM file is the private key file, which is available with the client. And Docker key, here you can see there is a key pair with the name Docker underscore key. This is the public key which will be authenticated or else which will be present inside your server. And here you have to select the VPC. By default, you will have a default VPC. You can select from that VPC, no problem. You don't need to worry about how I can select the VPC. It will be available for you. You can select, you don't need to select this settings. Okay. So here you can select the security groups. Create a security group is like a firewall, which is used for authenticating the persons or else allowing the traffic to enter into the server. So from the internet, so from where I am connecting to my server, so from the outside, I am not in the AWS environment, no. So I am on the internet. So from the internet, when I want to when I want to access that particular server, what I have to do here is I need to travel over the internet. When I am traveling over the internet, or else when I am sending the data over the internet, then the data or else the request will be reaching to the server. So whenever the request is reaching to the server can select this type of traffic can enter into the server. This type of traffic cannot be entered into the server. So that can be happen through the security groups. So that's why security groups are like the security guard for your server. So what is the work of security guard? To check each and every person who is entering into a particular place, and if he is thorough and if he is clean and he doesn't have anything that are not, not what I can say, anything that is explosives and all the things are he is not carrying, then he will be allowed to enter into the place. Okay, if he is having something which are not allowed, so he will be restricted and he will be not allowed into the place. Here also the same thing will happen. So whatever the rules that we are specifying the security group will allow only that traffic. It won't allow the other traffic. So I have my default security group. If you don't have the security group, then simply what you can do, you can select the security group name is Docker security. Okay, and here you can allow. I am allowing all traffic from anywhere. Okay, why? Because again, uh, I just need to select the port number of Docker. I need to select the port number for the SSH access. So despite of that, I'm allowing all traffic. But in your company, you don't need to do that. You do not have to do that. You have to select the particular port number on which the applications are running. So especially, you need to be extra cautious whenever you are working in the company. You should not allow all the traffic and launch the instance. So once we have deployed the instance, then what we can do, we need to access the instance. To access the instance, okay, here we are having the server. So the server is deployed in AWS environment in North Virginia location, which means in United States. What is the meaning of that? Whatever the server that you are seeing here, this server is present inside a data center. Okay, there will be a data center in US location. Inside the data center, we have the server. So now I am sitting in Hyderabad. Now from Hyderabad, if I want to connect to this server, how I can connect to the server? So to connect to the server, I need to send a request to the server over the internet, and then I have to log in. So in our computer, we need to have an application to access the server. So there are so many applications like Mobile Stream, Putty, or else through your PowerShell also you will be able to connect. So if I go to the PowerShell, in the PowerShell, what I will do, here I have downloaded the PEM file. No, if I go to here, Docker PEM file is there. So when I cd downloads, so we have the Docker PEM file is there. No, so through PowerShell also you can connect, or else through Putty also we can connect. I will show you how we can connect through PowerShell. SSH-I docker key.pem Ubuntu. So I selected the Ubuntu server. For Ubuntu server, the default username is Ubuntu only. So Ubuntu @ what is the public IP address of the server? The public IP address of the server is this one. Copy the public IP and give it on your PowerShell. Now, if you see, it is asking to log in. Yes. Now here you can see you will be logged into the Ubuntu machine. Look at that. So now I am inside the server. So sudo su hyphen. So here we can access the Linux commands. Why? Because we are connected. We are directly connected to the Linux servers. So this is how you can connect through your PowerShell. Other way, you can connect through Putty also. There is a application called as Putty, or somebody, I mean, the actual pronunciation is Putty, but in our day-to-day usage, it became Putty. Any which ways, whatever convenient for you, you can speak, or else you can pronounce like that. Okay. So here, Putty will not accept the PEM files. .pem files will not be acceptable by the Putty. So Putty will accept only .ppk format of files. So if I want to convert the PEM file into PPK format, there will be a software called as PuttyGen. When you install Putty, automatically with Putty, you will have the PuttyGen also. Select the PuttyGen, load, go to downloads, whatever the PEM file that we are having, select that PEM file. Okay, and then save as a private key. Okay, save as a private key. The private key name is Docker. Where I will save it is on the desktop. I will save it. Docker.ppk. Okay. Here you can see we have a docker.ppk file is available. There you go. The PEM file has been saved over here. Now I need to use that PEM file. How I can use that? Go to connections. Under connection, you can see SSH, authentication, credentials. Browse and select the Docker key. Okay. And go to the session. Here you have to provide the IP address of the server. Ubuntu @ what is the IP address of the server? copy the public IP and click on open. That's it. You will be able to access the server over the PuTTY. Whichever is convenient for you, you can use the method. Whether it is convenient for you to access the PowerShell, you can access through PowerShell, or else if it is convenient for you to access through PuTTY, use through PuTTY. I will be accessing through PuTTY only. Okay, but whatever convenient for you, you can choose that method. Next one. So once it is configured, then what we have to do? We need to install the Docker. How we can install the Docker? It's very simple, just a single line command. Actually, for installing the Docker in the conventional method, we can use so many commands. We have to use so many commands. Docker install on Ubuntu. If you see here. So first of all, we need to do apt update. Okay, and then what we have to do here is we have to pull out the Docker repository. Now, the configuration will be happening in this method in Linux environment. Before I go into the configuration method, so what happens here means whenever you have a server in the Linux environment, this server, whatever the server that you are having, this server will not, that doesn't know where exactly the Docker application is available. If you see in any server, we are going to use certain commands like, for example, apt or else yum or dnf or apk. So these are all called as package managers. These are all called as package managers. So if you see in Windows how we will download the .exe file, and when we double click on that, how automatically the dependencies will be installed. So in the same manner, these are the package managers. So the package manager should know where the exact repository, the setup files for Docker is available. Okay, where we are having the setup files for the Docker, that should be known by the package manager. So now here, when we are installing the Docker, we will tell the exact location. Here you can see, if you want the Docker, you have to go to this particular location. From there, download Docker applications or else Docker files. Look at that. From there, what happens? So you have to download the Docker files, and with the help of that Docker files, you need to install the Docker. Okay, so we are going to update on the source list. So these are all the things that we have to do to install the Docker. Okay, so despite of that, what I can do here is simply there is a URL called as get.docker.com. If you give this URL, in this URL, it will be available. The entire script is available for you to install the Docker. So simply what you can do, curl -sl https://get.docker.com. When you give this, it is going to display the complete script, shell script to install Docker. Okay, so curl, and then what you can do, bash. So when you give this command, curl -sl https://get.docker.com and bash, it will automatically install the Docker. But before I go into that, let me show you one thing. If config is not available, if config, okay, apt update -y, I'm updating the repositories, apt install -y, net-tools. If config is a utility which will show the IP address that are assigned to your, what are the different network adapters that are assigned to your server. So we install a server, no? So when we install this EC2 instance, if the EC2 instance want to communicate with the internet, we need to have a network adapter. So for your computer also, even for a basic computer, there will be the network adapters which are helpful for communicating with the internet. So if you are connected through laptop, in your laptop also you will have the Wi-Fi connector will be there. So without Wi-Fi connector or else without internet Ethernet connector, you won't be able to connect to the internet. So in the same manner for server also there will be an Ethernet connector, and in every computer, in every machine, especially if I have to talk, in every computer machine or else server or anyone, any device, so you will be having an address called as loopback address. What is this loopback address? Can anybody tell me? If anybody knows. What is the loopback address? Did anybody know about that? Okay. So any developers, whenever you are trying to test any application, you are going to give local host or 127.0.0.1. If you remember, whenever you want to test any, so if you create an application and you are running that application on a particular port number, and if you want to test the application, you are going to provide localhost colon port number. When you give that, automatically it is going to show your application on your web browser. Have you ever tried it? What is this localhost? So this localhost, or come on guys, speak out. I'm asking a general question. If you used, tell me yes, we have used. If you don't use, tell me I did not use. Don't sit silently. Don't sit ideally. Don't sleep. We are in a session which is very, very interesting for your career as well as which will be very helpful for your career to enhance your skills. If you are attending to the session only for sitting calmly, don't attend the session. If I have a people who are very, very attentive to the session, at least 3 or 4 candidates, I'm very happy with them. I don't want some 10, 15 students who are sitting in front of the computer, watching videos in their mobile or else doing some extra work. I don't want those kind of candidates who are not answering the questions. Okay, if you don't know, no problem. Say, I did not know about that. When a person asks you some question, please try to respond back to the question. So this is the local host. Local host is nothing but your loopback address. Okay, it is helpful for testing your application, testing whether the network interfaces are working fine or not. In the same manner, here also in your server, when you see, when I give if config, here you can see there are two Ethernet adapters. So ENS5 is an adapter which will be helpful for you to communicate with the Ethernet. I mean with the internet. And there will be a loopback adapter. Here you can see we are having LO. LO means loopback adapter, which will be helpful for testing the network. So two adapters are there, no? So I will try to install the Docker. Okay. So when I give this command, Docker will be installed on the Ubuntu environment. If you are not attentive to the session, please, I'm requesting everyone. So if you are not attentive, if you are not able to talk in the session, I mean, I
Uh,
don't ask you, one second. I don't ask you to talk technical concept. I'm asking you just a generalized concept. If you are unable to talk, then see, not about talking, at least tell yes or no. That is what I'm expecting from a student.
Chaitanya, yeah, here we are installing completely Docker or Docker image we are installing.
We are installing Docker application.
Okay.
What is the Docker image? We will discuss about the images in the later on session. That is what I am saying. Installing Docker on
Before,
Ubuntu
no,
means
actually, all the process is fine, but why we are going to this process? First, I need to understand why these things are required, where
which
we,
things.
whatever we are doing, this creating EC2
First,
instance,
we
we are,
are installing the Docker. No,
no,
if
no,
you
that's
want to run the Docker, you need to have a server. No,
No, that's fine. My question is, we are going to AWS, we are creating the EC2 instance, we are installing the
Hmm.
Docker, we are creating the Ubuntu. Why we
Hmm.
need these all the activities in our project development? What is the challenges we face earlier? Which kind of issues we face earlier? Then we are come
Which kind
across.
of issue? Yesterday, I said you about the on-premises environment servers,
Mm-hmm.
and then we discussed about the containers, so that we can. Yesterday, you attended to the session, no? You did not
Yeah.
listen to the session. Yesterday, I clearly mentioned that what is the problem with the servers, and then
Mm.
why we are going with the containers, and then today we are installing the Docker on the Ubuntu environment.
Okay, so see, this one is the containerized things we are doing.
Containerized things in the first we need to install Docker on the server. No, yesterday I explained you. So when we need to have the containers, first we need to have a hardware. On top of that, we need to have an operating system. On top of that, we are going to install the Docker application. So we install the Docker application now.
Okay. Okay.
It is not a new session that we are starting from the beginning. No, yesterday we discussed about the differences between on-premises environment. If we have a server, what is the major problem? And then we discussed about the virtualization. I showed you how VM servers can be created, and then I showed you how we can work with the containers. What is the problem that we are facing with the virtualization? What is meant by kernel? And in containers, we won't use the kernel. All these things we discussed in the last session. No.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Okay. So this is about the Docker. Now, when we install the Docker, if you see, when I give the if config command, now how many adapters you are able to see here? Previously, how many adapters are there? Now, how many adapters you are able to see on my Ubuntu server after installing the Docker?
3.
Now it is 3. Previously, we have only
1.
how many adapters are there previously? Previously, we are having only 2 adapters. That is ENS5 and loopback adapter. After installing the Docker application, we got the third adapter also. So after installing Docker application, we got the third adapter, which is called as a bridge network adapter. So which will be connecting your Docker application to the external adapter. So that's why it is called as a bridge network adapter. Okay, so inside the Docker, you will have the containers, and these containers will be connected to this bridge network adapter. From there, they will be able to access the internet. We'll discuss about that in the Docker networking concept. But as of now, what we have done here is we install the Docker on the Ubuntu server. Okay, if you want to install Docker on the Windows environment also, you can do that. But I am not installing it right now. Why? Because if I install it, I have to restart the computer to again the session will be disconnected. So 1 second. Yeah, the session will be disconnected. So that's why I'm not showing you here. But anyways, if you want to install Docker on the Windows environment, you can install Docker in the Windows environment also. Docker install Windows. So that is Docker desktop. Install Docker desktop for Windows. So that requires WSL also. So we need to have the WSL2, that is Windows Subsystem for Linux. I said, on Windows environment, if we want to run the Linux containers, we need to have the kernel that should understand the Linux container requirement. So for that reason, we are going for the Windows Subsystem for Linux. That is a mandatory one. But let us see whether, as per my knowledge, yeah, Manish.
Sir, you mentioned this bridge network which will be installed once we install Docker. So is it like the common network or is there any custom networks which
It's
can
a
be also
default
used?
network.
Okay.
We can use the custom network also. That I will tell you in the networking concept. Docker networking, we have the entire concept.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You can create your own custom network. You can create with the required IP address also, whatever the range of IP that you want, you can create your network. So that is possible. But after installing the Docker, what is going to happen means, by default, you will get a network adapter with the network range of 172.17.0.0/16. So this is the network range. Okay. For any Docker application, if you install on any machine, you will get the configuration as 172.17.0.0/16. So this is the default network adapter which you will have. Not only in the Ubuntu environment, when we install the Docker desktop on Windows environment also, we are going to get the same, same default network ID. Okay, that is 172.17 only. So let's see what we can do over here. So this is the other way which we can install the application or else Docker application on the Windows environment. So wherever you are comfortable, you can use that. I am not saying that you need to have only on the AWS environment. If you have an AWS account and you are able to create the EC2 instance, you can install the Docker on the Ubuntu server or else any another server. No, sir, for this, I want to use the Docker desktop. I want to see the GUI, graphical user interface, or else I just want to know how this application is there. So you can install that on your Windows environment also. So anyways, both the ways the commands are same. So we are talking to the application. So whenever we are giving a command, it is not related to the Linux, or else it is not related to the Windows. It is related to the Docker. So the Docker commands for Windows as well as for Linux, both are the same. So Docker here in Linux also we are going to give Docker PS. So whenever we are using the command called as Docker PS or else Docker PS hyphen A or Docker network ls, Docker volume ls, or else Docker build or Docker run. So all these commands I will describe about all these commands. But as of now, if you see anywhere we are giving the starting word is Docker only. So which means that that's a Docker client. We are talking to the Docker client. So that's why we are giving Docker in the beginning of the command. For example, if you are going with the AWS environment, if you want to talk to AWS, you are going to do AWS EC2, AWS S3. Okay, like that, there will be AWS CLI will be available. So this is the Docker CLI where you are communicating with the Docker application. So whenever you are communicating with the Docker application, it is independent of the platform, whether you are using in Windows environment or else you are using in the Linux environment. You are talking to the Docker application. So the commands for Docker application are the same in both the environments. So that is what I said you. So I need to restart the mission. Mm, Okay, stay with me. Just what I will do here is I will just restart the mission and I will connect you back. Okay, just stay with me. Just 2 minutes. I will restart the mission. I will connect you back instantly. Don't go anywhere. So after restarting, we have restarted the machine. So once we restarted it, it is asking that Docker subscription service agreement will be there. Then what we have to do here is we need to go ahead for the accepting the terms and conditions. And then, so if you want to go with, I am having my personalized Docker environment, you can create it or else you can skip it. But as of now, you can skip it now and restart. Okay. Anyways, this is how your Docker desktop will be looking like. Okay. And inside this, we can run the containers. So I said, when we create, so let me go with the PowerShell, WSL hyphen update. So the Windows subsystem for Linux is the older one. So it is asking me to update it. So once we have updated, we can run the containers. So if you see here, Docker PS. So when I give the command Docker PS, it will tell me if the Docker daemon is running. So that is what the Docker architecture. Now we will discuss about the Docker architecture in this session. So now, so in Docker, what we have to do? We need to run the containers. What is a Docker? First of all, everyone will have the question. We are using the Docker application. That is fine. But what is meant by a Docker? So Docker is a containerization platform. So first of all, we have a hardware. Either it might be laptop or else it might be server. We are having a hardware. On the top of the hardware, we are installing an operating system. So either it is a Windows operating system or else it is a Linux operating system. We are using an operating system. For example, now we are into the Windows environment. You can use Windows or else you can use the Linux environment, Linux operating system. On top of that, we installed an application called as Docker. Okay, we installed an application called as Docker. So after Docker is installed, on top of that, we are going to install or else we are going to run the containers. So actually, we have to discuss about the containers in this session, but I don't know whether it will take, whether it will be sufficient, the time is sufficient or not. Let us see. So we are going to run the container. On top of this container, we will be installing the application and we will be running the application with its dependency. So inside the container, we are going to create the application and its dependency. Okay. So, okay, no worries. I will check out this later. Let me go with the AWS environment, and in AWS we install the Docker application. No, on the server we install the Docker. So then how I can create the container? So to create the container, it is so simple that let me go to putty Ubuntu @ I will provide here authentication credentials, and on desktop I am having the Docker. So now what you can do here is you can save this session. When you save the session, no, every time you don't need to provide the key and all the things. So simply what you can do here is I will just save this session in putty. Next time onwards, I don't need to give that credential. So now what I will do, I will name it as Docker and save it. Once I have saved it, you can close putty and again open the terminal, click on Docker, load. So this time I am not going to provide any sort of key. When I click on open, the key is already pre-configured. Why? Because the session is saved. So the key is already pre-configured. So I don't need to do anything. Simply click on open. So if you have the saved sessions, then it will save your time. You don't need to load the keys. You don't need to select the font size and all the things. By defaultly, if you are selecting everything and saving the session, that will help you to configure the things. Okay. So here you can see we have the Docker application installed. So when I give Docker PS command, Docker PS is a command which will be helpful for you to check the running containers. So write it down on a running nodes. It will be very helpful for you. Docker PS. It is a command or else Docker PS will check, will display the containers that are running in the Docker application. Okay, Docker application. So whatever the containers that are running, that will be displayed. If no containers are running, so then you are going to get like this. There is another command called as docker ps-a. Okay, docker ps-a will display all the containers that are running, stopped, and created. So any containers that may or may not running, that are running, stopped, which means they are not running or shut down, and created in Docker application. So inside the Docker application, whatever the containers that are running, stopped or created containers will be there. No, they will be displayed with the help of the command docker ps-a. So here I will give the command docker ps-a. Okay, right now we don't have any sort of container. So how I can create a container? So I am talking that containers are helpful for running the application. Which type of application? Any application you can run. So whatever the applications that you are running on the server, you can run the same application in the Docker containers also. So basically why we are creating the containers means containers are created to run the application and its dependency. So how we can create the container? To create the container or else to make the container run, the command is docker run -itd -name web container. So here the command is docker run. So which means that the docker will create the container and start the container. So what is the command that we are using? Docker run -it in the sense interactive terminal. A separate terminal will be created for us to access the container, to log in into the container, and to install any applications, anything, we can log in into the container. So for that I am using -it. D means detached. So I means interactive. T means terminal or TTY. They will call it as TTY. I will make it as terminal. And D means detached. Detached in the sense there are two ways to run the application in the Linux environment. The first one is we can run the application in the foreground, or we can run the container or application in the background. So what is meant by running an application in the foreground? Running an application in the foreground means, here you can see if I give sleep 30. So the command will execute that. The prompt will not be released until 30 seconds. If you see here, see that the prompt is not there until 30 seconds, until this command is executed. How many seconds I said? I said 30 seconds. So the command is executing. When the command is executing, the prompt is not released. Here you can see I did not get this one. This is called as prompt. The prompt is not released. So when the prompt is not released, the application is running in the foreground. So this is what I call it as foreground. Okay, on the operating system itself. So after 30 seconds, what happened? The prompt has released. Why? Because this will wait for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, sleep 30 in the sense it will make the operating system wait for 30 seconds. Then the prompt is released. Here you can see it is released. Or else I can give like this also. Sleep 30, and when I give this now this particular application is running in the background. How you can say that? ps-ef grep sleep. Here you can see sleep 30 is running. Okay. Why? Here I have given and means run in the background. So here you can see now I got the prompt instantly. Why? Because the application is still running, but where it is running in the background. So here docker, when I give D means detached mode. Detached mode means the application, sorry, the container will be running in the background. If I don't give D, then obviously the container is going to run in the foreground of my operating system. So that is the main difference between how when we give D and not, if you don't give the D. Okay, D means detached mode, which will be running in the background of your operating system. If you don't give this D letter, then the container will be running in the foreground of your operating system. That is your wish, whether you have to provide it or not, but majority number of times I will provide a D itself. Okay. So docker run -itd -name web container. So this is the name of the container. And if I want to run a container, I need to have an operating system environment. Either you can give Ubuntu, I will give Ubuntu here. So which means that we are creating a container with the Ubuntu image, which means that I am not installing the operating system. I am using the Ubuntu environment. So here you can see what is this we will discuss in the Docker architecture. It is saying that the application is not running or else unable to find the Ubuntu latest. I will talk about all these things in the next session. But as of now, if you can see Docker PS, when you give the command, we have a web container. A container is running with the image Ubuntu. So we created a container and it is running with the image, with the help of the image Ubuntu, and we can able to log in into the container also. We will be able to log in into the container. I will show you how you can log in. So what is the command for creating the container? To create a container, the command is this one. Docker run -itd.
Hello.
Yes.
Ubuntu is mandatory. We need to write Ubuntu because since we are running application Ubuntu Linux server, so it is mandatory to mention Ubuntu because I am also running the application. I have also a server where I'm running the application.
You are not connected to the, then you are not connected to the session. Try to understand. We are using an operating system. On top of that, we are running the Docker application. If you want to run an application inside the Docker, what is the environment? Here, if I give Red Hat, for example, or else I will give the image as, I need to tell to, I mean, how a container will be created. Container is like a small computer. If a small computer, if a computer wants to work, then definitely you need to provide the operating system or not.
All right, I got it.
This is, you need to understand layers. So this is a layer. This is your host layer. Okay, where the Docker application is running. So here, the operating system does not have anything to do with your container. So it will provide the environment to install the Docker. But on top of Docker, what we are doing? We are installing the container, no? So when we are running the container, inside the container, if I want to run an application, what I need to have? You are asking me a question. When I ask you a question, please respond. What I need to have inside the container? I need to have an operating system environment. No, without that, how I can install the application? So this operating system is for your Docker application. But this operating, I won't say it's an operating system. It's an operating system environment, which is helpful for you to run your containerized application. No.
Yes.
You are getting the point here.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Sir.
this is, try to understand the layers. You have to segregate it into the layer wise. So this is the host operating system and this is the containerized guest operating system, like that. Okay. Right. So that's the concept of how you can create the container. Is it clear, guys? Everyone, any questions? Any questions?
No, sir.
But Chetan, let's suppose if you are using like AWS server, okay, and they are using Ubuntu at that time, and if you are means logged in Ubuntu using terminal, so at that time you don't need to do, at that time we don't need to mention Ubuntu, right? Ubuntu
Why?
thing, correct?
No, you have to use it. You are
No, because
again.
but we are already in Ubuntu environment at that time.
No, you are into the server environment. You are completely going in a wrong way. So let us understand this. This is the Ubuntu server which you have created in the AWS environment, right?
Exactly.
Okay. In this, what is the operating system that we are using?
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. So try to understand if you are using a Windows environment, the same way, which is the operating system that you are using? Windows. Here you are using Ubuntu as an operating system. Okay, there you are using Windows as an operating system. Who are the operating system? Why we need to install the operating system? To access the server or else to access the machine. Clear?
Exactly.
Here
Right.
also we are using Ubuntu to access the machine. How we are accessing the machine? We are accessing the machine through PuTTY. In our client machine, we are having a PuTTY terminal. Through PuTTY, we are connecting to the operating system. We are connecting to the server and we are logging into the operating system. Is it clear?
Correct.
So now, if inside the operating system, what I am doing, I am installing the Docker application. No?
Yes.
Inside this, I am installing the Docker application. Okay. Then inside the Docker, what I have to do? Why we are installing the Docker application? We are installing the Docker application to run the containers.
Containers. Right.
Okay. So if I want to run a container, definitely I need to have the image. No? Without image, how I can use it? So this operating system is used for installing the Docker and access the application inside the server. But whatever the Docker we are having, inside Docker we are creating the container, and inside the container definitely we have to use the image called as Ubuntu. No?
Right.
If you are using Ubuntu or else Alpine or else any application or else any image, Docker image is mandatory. Okay. So this Ubuntu image is for running the container. This Ubuntu operating system is for running your Docker application. This is the host operating system and this is the guest operating
Next
system. Try to
application.
analyze like that. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Right. Okay, guys. Let us go with the next one. The next one is yeah. So we are into the container creation. Once the container is created, then what we are going to do here is let us see what is the, what is the main, how these containers are created. What exactly is a container? Docker PS. Here we are having a container. For this container, we will have the container ID. So for every container, you will have the container ID. So now what is this container ID? So basically, whenever the containers are getting created, containers are the environments where we can run the application and its dependency. Its dependency in the sense application dependency. Again, you will get confused here. And app dependencies. Application dependencies. So I am running an application inside the container. If I have to run the application, I need to have the dependencies, application dependencies. So we are going to install both application and application dependencies inside the container. Okay, now you are saying what we are running inside the container. You are not saying what is a container. So container is an environment. Okay. So whenever we are creating a container, automatically inside the operating system, a process will be created. So I did not got your point. Let me tell you. So whenever you want to check any process in the Linux environment, what is the command that you are going to use? ps-ef. When you give this command, it is going to display all the processes that are running on your server. So now if I show you docker ps, sorry, not docker, ps-ef grep container. When I give this, no, here you can see we have a process ID. So here you can see there is a process which got created for the container, whatever we are running. So if you see here, what is the container ID? The container ID is E20F344. Here you can see E20F344. So when we are running a container in the operating system, you will be running automatically, a process will be created. So that process will be continuously running. When the container is running, the process will be running. You can simply say that A container is an environment which is created as a process in the Linux or in Windows, which will helpful for to run an application and its dependencies. It is very complicated to understand. That's why I have removed that process. In the statement, whatever I have given, containers are the environment where we can run the application and dependencies. If you say this in the interview, that's more than enough. If anybody asks you what is a container, container is an environment where we can run the application and its dependencies. That's more than enough. But to make sure you understand the concept of the container, I am showing you this. So containers are created depending on the some of the advanced features of Linux environment. So what are the Linux features that help the engineers to create the containers means? There are two features are most important. One is the namespace and the second one is C groups. These are the two different features of Linux environment which are helpful for creating the container. So one thing you need to understand, here we created a container. So web container is running with the help of Ubuntu image. Okay. For example, if I create another container, docker run -itd --name web container 2, and with the image again I will give Ubuntu only. So when I give Ubuntu, what is going to happen? Again, and another container will be created. So we have one first container and we have the second container. Whether these two are connected with each other, which means that they are in the isolated in nature. So how you can say they are isolated with each other? Simple. Because of the namespace that we are using. So if you can see docker ps ef grep container, here you can see whatever the container that we created, the first container that we created, it is having a separate process ID. So 3117. And the second container which we create, that is having another process ID, which means that they are created in the Docker application only, but they are not in contact with each other. In contact means, let me ask you a question so that you will get a very clarity about this. You are going to an office. When you are going to an office, in your office environment, you will have the computers. So many computers will be there. For every individual, there will be a computer. Every computer will be installed with Windows operating system. So, for example, I am attending to my office. I will be having a computer. I will be equipped with Windows operating system. Besides me, I mean, next to me, there will be another employee who will be having the same operating system computer. So when they are having the same operating system computer, so if I open an application, whether the same application will be opened in the another computer also, is it going to happen in that manner? Do you understand my question? My question is,
Yes, same OS will be open, but the computer ID will be different.
the computers are different. So the application which we are running in one computer will not be running on the second computer also, no? So there is no necessity that they have to run the same application at the same time.
No.
Or else when I open the application, the same application will not be opened on the another computer, no? So here, what is the difference? For each computer, there will be a computer ID. For each computer, there will be a separate storage. For each computer to access, there will be a separate IP address. Okay, so like that, what is happening? We are dividing both the computers depending on the namespace. Namespace in the sense, we are dividing depending on the computer ID. So this computer is having this particular computer ID. This computer is having this particular IP address. This computer is having this particular storage. And the other computer is having, this is the computer ID. This is the computer IP. This is the computer storage. So we are segregating two computers depending on the what I can say, their specifications. So the computer ID like kind of specifications. Here also we have two containers, web container and web container 2. Both are created with the Ubuntu operating system, but they are different. If you see the container ID, the first container ID is different and the second container ID is different, which means that they are isolated. Isolated in the sense, whatever the application that I am running on web container, the same application I don't want to run on the web container too. I can run on a different application also. Even though they are created with the same image, try to get that analogy. Windows environment, our computer analogy here. So you will understand these two are two different application running containers. We can run two different applications, and these two are segregated depending on the container ID, depending on the process ID or container ID. And as well as every container will get its own unique IP address. It will not be the same IP address. And the next one is every container will get its own storage. It won't get any common storage. So like that, what is going to happen whenever we are creating a container, the container will follow the namespace. So namespace is a feature which is helpful for the people who invented this Docker. So now if you see here, if you want to know about that in detail, there is a very good documentation. You can go through the documentation, which will be helpful for you. What exactly is a container? Just go through this document, it will be helpful. What even is a container? Namespace and C groups. So depending on the namespaces and C groups, the container evaluation has been done. Okay, so if you go to this document, that will be helpful for you. Just go through that once. Okay. So that is about the container, how we are going to create the container, how we can run the container, what made the containers. So depending on the namespaces and C groups of the Linux features, we created the containers. And from there, we got so many containerized platforms like Docker, Podman, RKT, CRIO, ContainerD. So like that, we are having so many different types of containerized platforms. On top of that, we are going to run the containers. Inside the containers, we are going to run the applications. So this is the entire concept of your containers, how you can create the container. So tomorrow, what we will do here is, we will discuss about the containerization architecture, Docker architecture, and container lifecycle. By tomorrow's session, we are going to close the demos. Today is the second demo. So go through the previous demo, which is available in YouTube. If you are interested, you can contact DURGASOFT also. They will help you to get the previous session videos. If you are already attended to the previous session, you are interested, please join the sessions. And tomorrow will be the last and final demo. Free demos will be closed by tomorrow. And from day after tomorrow, you will have the, whoever has enrolled for the session, they will be able to access the videos, documentation, and they will have the live sessions. Okay, I hope I made it very clear. Any questions from your side, you can ask me now.
Can you please provide me the yesterday's session recording?
I cannot provide. You have to reach out to DURGASOFT. They will provide you. Okay. Joshua. Okay. Lavanya, any questions from your side? Manish, Pavan,
No, sir.
are you sure? Yeah, Pavan.
Yes.
Yeah, Manish.
Sorry, Chaitanya.
Go
So
on, go
you
on.
imported So you imported a container like Ubuntu. It's the latest.
Mm.
So if I want to import another
No.
Nginx,
I did not.
another container,
One
it's not
second.
required.
One second. I did not
Yes.
imported the container. I downloaded the image.
Hmm,
You need
yeah.
to get
You
the difference.
downloaded it. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So you
One
download the
second.
image from
One second. I will just clarify this and I will come back to your question. So images are like you purchased in computer, no? So just like how we are purchasing the computer, we will have the container. So inside the container or else inside the computer, what we need to do? We need to install the operating system. For operating system, what we will be doing? We will have an ISO image or else we will be converting the ISO into an bootable disk, and then we are connecting it to the computer, and then we are installing the operating system on the computer, no? In the same manner, Docker images are helpful for you to run the containers. So they are the readable format of your containers. Okay. So yeah, go on.
Yeah. So whatever you downloaded the
Hmm.
image with the Ubuntu latest or like a older version. So next time when I download any Nginx or any other web application from the marketplace, so can I use the same image OS version or else I need to
Suryavanshi,
deploy
can you
another
please
OS
mute
version?
yourself? Suryavanshi, can you please mute yourself? If you are interested in watching the
So
TV, please mute yourself. Yeah, tell me.
yes. So, so next time when I'm downloading any image, like any like Nginx or any other web application related, so I want to use this. I want to Linux, right, on that particular image or container. So I can use this image, right? Ubuntu image.
You can, one
Existing,
second,
yes.
yeah, that is fine. You can use the Ubuntu image, or else directly you are having the Nginx images itself. You don't even
Correct.
need to use the Ubuntu. You can directly download the Nginx image and you can create the container. Okay. Or no, I want to create it from the scratch. Okay, I want to
Correct.
have a Ubuntu operating system. On top of that, I want to install Nginx. On top of that, I want to run the application. Then you can use from the scratch. No, especially I want to use this Ubuntu operating system in this version. So if I say 2204, 2404, 1804, you can give that a tag. So when you see here, I downloaded the Ubuntu latest environment. No,
Correct.
you see what is the image that I got here? One second. What is the image that I got here is I got Ubuntu latest. The tag, when I did not provide anything after the Ubuntu. For example, what I have done here means I created a container docker run -itd. You don't need to provide the container name. Automatically, it will create the container. Ubuntu, I mean, create the container name. Ubuntu latest. So here you can see when I don't provide any tag, I just gave the image name. If I don't provide any tag, the tail, whatever the tail is there, if I don't provide that, then automatically Docker will attach a tag to that. That is the latest tag. Okay, if you provide the tag, that is the version number 2204. Okay, 2204 is the Ubuntu version which I want to install. So then if you provide the tag, then it will download that particular version and create the container. Here you can see Ubuntu 2204 is not present locally. Why? Ubuntu is there, no? Yes, Ubuntu is there, but which tag? It is the latest tag. But I want to use the Ubuntu 2204 environment. So for that, I am trying to download that image. So then what it is saying, Ubuntu 2204 is not present locally. I am trying to download it and it will create the container with the tag Ubuntu 2204, a new container with a new name. So if you don't provide the name, automatically Docker will create a name for the container. But what is important here is the container IDs are important and the image is important. Here you can see when I don't provide the tag, automatically it downloaded the Ubuntu latest. When I provide the tag, it is downloading the proper version, whichever you are asked for. Okay. You got your answer for the question?
Yes, got it.
Right. Questions, guys? Okay. So I just want to give you one more thing. That is the sessions will be from 8:30 to 9:30. Every day you will have the session. Except, I mean, weekends you won't have the session, but most probably every day you will have the session. And what else? What else? Yeah. The sessions will be totally 25 to 30 working sessions. I mean, how many hours means 30 hours of sessions will be there, 30 to 32. I cannot say that, depending on the syllabus. I may be adding a new concepts also. Depending on that, it might be increased or else it might be decreased, plus or minus 5 hours. And you need to have the, I already gave you the total syllabus. If you want, you can check out from the DURGASOFT online website. From there you can get the complete syllabus. And then what else I'm missing? Yeah, prerequisites. If you want to learn the Docker and Kubernetes, there are no prerequisites, but we are working on the AWS environment. If you understand the cloud, that's more than enough. No sir, I don't know the cloud, then also no problem. If you are having your Docker desktop installed on your Windows environment, so with that we can run the Docker. But when you come to the Kubernetes, we are going with the cluster-wide configuration. Then at least you need to have the servers to run the configuration. So for that, my request is that please create an AWS account if you don't have one. Okay, right then. So that's it from my end. We'll meet in the next session and discuss about the lot of concepts related to another Docker Docker architecture and Docker lifecycle. With that, we will complete the demos and then we will go into the main concept of Docker networking. We have to clear out the Docker networking, Docker image creations, Docker file creation, multi-stage Docker file, and then we will be discussing about the Docker volumes and Docker, what else we have? Docker volumes, Docker bind mounts, and Docker swarm, Docker compose. With that, we'll wind up the Docker. Okay, most probably within 1 week we have to complete the Docker after the completion of your demos. Most probably by next week, Wednesday or Thursday, we need to complete the Docker and we have to start the Kubernetes. That is my agenda here. Anything else, guys? Yeah, Manish. Yeah, sure, MC. Anything to ask?
No, sir.
Okay then. Have a nice day.
Actually, I have joined today's session only, so I don't have any idea about what happened yesterday and day before yesterday.
Yeah, you attended today's session. I understand that. If you want the previous video, just contact DurgaSoft, or else you can go to the YouTube and you can check out the DurgaSoft videos over there. You will get the video. I will show you. I will share the link with you. You can please check out that link where you will have the YouTube videos are available. The previous session videos are available over here. I shared you the YouTube link on the chat box. Whoever are attending for the first session, please go through that link. That will be helpful for you to understand the yesterday's session. Okay. Okay then. Hope you copied that YouTube link. Please copy it. It will be helpful. Again, after closing the session, you won't be able to access the link. You won't be able to take the link. So please access that and we'll meet in the next session. Bye guys.